What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Combat Zone. That's right, BW Sports 1 fans. It's powered by Rockstar Realty, 317-503-8322. Talk to Shawn at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322. Elite Performance, where the dream of elite fitness becomes a reality, 765-499-1005. Become elite at Elite Performance now, ElitePTIndy.com. Revved Up Tattoos, 317-537-2667. If you're looking for a new ink, new piercing, call my boy Todd at Revved Up Tattoos, 317-537-2667. And BaumBurgers Steak and Shake, located at 7960 US 31 South in Indianapolis, Indiana. BaumBurgers Steak and Shake.
Round one, fight.
All right, everybody, we are back with another edition of Combat Zone, and today we have a very well-known bare knuckle combat sports warrior, Tom Shoaff, your local ninja. What is happening, my man?
Not a whole lot, man. Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. Let's tell the BW Sports One world, a little bit of background about Tom Shoaff in the combat sports world, because you have a number of years of experience in combat sports.
Yeah, I started fighting right when I turned 18. Right when I turned 18. And I had a pretty long and extensive amateur career. I was amateur for about 5 years, 25 fights, lost one. And then I went pro about 9 years ago. I had an MMA, I should specify. I had 15 MMA fights. I was 11-4. I had a kickboxing match that I won, and then in the last couple of years, I've moved to the bare knuckle game, and I'm 2-3 in bare knuckle, and that's my extensive career wrapped up in a short little few sentences.
Well, being a Midwestern guy such as yourself, I noticed on your MMA career certain names that definitely stick out to me. You fought one of my buddies, Bobby Emmons. I think it was at Hoosier Fight Club up in Northwestern. I want to say in the Indiana. Hammond. Is it Hammond, yeah. Indiana? Is where it was?
That fight specifically was about 20 miles from Hammond in Valparaiso.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's where that took place. Yeah.
Okay. And then I see, Cameron Van Camp, Austin Tweedy, and Kurt Kinzer. That all four of those guys are from around my neck of the woods.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Indiana. I just recently moved back to Oklahoma, but let me backtrack a little bit. I didn't grow up in Indiana. I lived in Indiana for 5 or 6 years in my 20s. But yeah, so that's where I started my MMA career. That's where I started my pro career, and that's where all of those fights came from. I fought Kurt Kinzer when he was still an undefeated stud, right before he fought. I want to say it was Pat Healy for the World Series of Fighting for the belt. I fought Bobby Emmons just after that. I fought Cameron Van Camp just after that. I fought Austin Tweedy before all of those. Yeah, man, I fought a lot of people from the Midwest, and I fought a lot of the who's who in the Midwest as far as the local level MMA crowd is concerned. But I feel like that's kind of why I went to bare knuckle. I was having this conversation before where I was letting the guy know that basically, like in MMA's grown so fast and it's gotten so big that it's really hard to be a big fish in that pond. There's so many fish in that pond, and especially at 155 pounds, like that's the most generic weight class that we have because everybody's about and around that size. So I feel like I just got lost in the weeds, as far as MMA was concerned. So once I was able to make my transition to Bare Knuckle, I mean, I'm able to now fight on for the best organization in the world at this point, and that was something that I wasn't able to do in the Midwest as a professional MMA fighter.
So what has your transition been like from the MMA world to Bare Knuckle? I know obviously training's a little different because, you're not doing the ground, you're not doing the kicks, you're not doing a lot of the Muay Thai. What has your transition been like from that realm to this?
I think my transition was a lot easier than most people's. I've always been a boxer, I guess you could say, by trade. My first legitimate coach was he was a professional kickboxer, professional kickboxer. He wrestled in middle school, he wrestled in high school, he wrestled in college. He was the combatives instructor for the military, and I met him down here in Oklahoma. He was my first legitimate coach, my first legitimate training experience. And we worked in boxing. We worked at what his bread and butter was, his fundamentals. They were boxing. So that's always been something that's just kind of clicked for me and worked for me. When I was growing up, the whole reason I got into MMA to begin with was because I liked to fight. I was a shitty kid, and I like to get in fights with people, So my mom was like, "Look, you got to do something constructive. Like, you can't just keep getting arrested and going to jail. Like, you can't do that. You got to do something constructive." So
right.
I got into MMA because I was street fighting all the time. And then when I was doing my MMA fights, like if you watch my fights, I think I've taken 3, maybe 4 shots my entire career. And they've always been because I've just been rocked and didn't know what else was going on, or lost my balance and fell into a takedown or whatever, but like I don't shoot. I don't even really kick that much, like my stance has always been we're going to find out who's tougher. So it was a pretty easy transition for me, honestly. As far as training goes, my training hasn't really changed all that much. I mean, fight camp training, yeah, of course, it's more boxing centric and focused.
Right.
But I own a gym and I coach and I teach consistently every day. So I'm still getting punched, still getting kicked, still on the mats, rolling, people trying to rip off joints and, choke me and things like that, So like my body still gets the abuse that it was getting beforehand. I would say that the levels of extreme are just much lower because I'm not training for MMA fights anymore. I'm not doing that. That's not the goal, and that's not the focus.
So when you mention you have, you teach classes and stuff like that, when you have you ever had a student or just somebody off the streets, a newcomer, to come in and want to challenge you, and if so, how did you handle that?
No, man, we, I'll be honest. We, well, there's two parts to that answer. One, that's never happened. All right. Nobody's ever come into my facility or any facility that I've ever trained at and been like, that guy, I want to fight that guy. We have had people come in who were talented fighters, who were good boxers, and kind of had a chip on their shoulder, a bit of an ego. And they come in and they just try to rip everybody's head off, but they get gassed pretty early, they get pretty tired, and then they get humbled. So it happens, but it's never happened to me personally. I would say that the other part of that response would be in our gym. As soon as you walk in the front door, it's like a reception area, and from wall to ceiling, essentially, there's just pictures of me and everybody at the gym that trains there beating the fuck out of people. So,
like, a little intimidating when you walk in.
Exactly. So when somebody walks in and they see, I don't know I'm sure you've seen the picture of me throwing that left hook to Joe Elmore. I've got that blown up in like a 4x3 on the wall at the gym. So as soon as people walk in, they see a picture of me punching a guy in the face, and then they see me. It's not very common that people are like, let's fight, bro. Like that doesn't really happen.
All right. Well, that's a good thing for them then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing for all of us.
Right.
It saves everybody a little bit of embarrassment.
Well, that plus you don't want to waste your time just trying to show somebody down because they're trying to show up, in your
Yeah,
gym.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's probably the best way to put it. Is I'm not trying to put anybody down for the sake of making myself get higher in any sense.
Right.
That's
Right. So let's talk about your bare knuckle career. The past few fights, have been killer wars. I mean, again, you spoke about Joe Elmore. That went 5 rounds. Before that, it was Julian Lane. That went 5 rounds. And then the last fight you had, what was it? BKFC 15, 16?
fuck, I don't remember. I know it's I don't remember what the number was.
17,
I think it was 16,
I'm sorry.
17. You're right. Yeah, 17.
Okay, so
because this one, the one coming up is 18.
Yep. So it was the last event they had, and you fought Nathan Mitchell, and you took him out and showed superb, accuracy in 1 round. How did those first two? Well, not the first two, but how did those last 2 fights with those wars between Lane and Elmore get you ready for the showcase that you showed the world this past fight?
I don't think that it was just those 2 fights. I think that it was a combination of just my bare knuckle experience. My first fight with Diego, it was 90 seconds, but it was crazy. It was chaos. There was a lot of action that happened in that 90 seconds. And he got the better of me. He wound up knocking me out and finishing the fight. And then the second fight, I returned the favor. It took me a little longer, but I was able to go out there and outbox him and, rearrange his face a little bit. And they stopped the fight in the 4th. Then I had the fight with Julian. The fights with Diego were at 165, and the fight with Julian was at 170. My mentality going into the fight was I'm going to be faster than this guy, but I'm not going to be as strong. So naturally, as opposed to working on my strengths during training camp, I worked on my weaknesses. So I started powerlifting and trying to put on weight and get heavier, things like that, which slowed me down. So then I didn't have any of the advantages that I thought I was going to have going into that fight. So it really took me a lot to kind of warm up and get acclimated. I think about halfway through round 2, going into round 3, I really started to kind of get my groove and start to flow and figure things out when it came to Julian. And then Joe, I don't want to talk shit towards Joe because he's a really nice guy, but as far as like his technical ability is concerned, he's not a technical boxer. He's not a boxer. Like, let's just be honest, like he doesn't have that sort of precision or that sort of technique to be able to get him through in a solid boxing match. And I think that truly stood out when we fought because I'm a boxer. I'll hit you so many fucking times you won't even realize how many times you've been hit. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to do. But again, those 2 fights, I fought Julian at 170, I fought Diego at 165, and then I fought Joe at 165. And those guys are huge. They're monsters. Julian's fighting at like 185 now, like he's got to cut weight to get there. Like, those guys are monsters. Joe, I don't think Joe will ever make 165 again, in my personal opinion. Like, I think he destroyed his body so bad trying to make it for me and then making it for Leonard. I think we would be absolutely blown away if we saw him at 165 again. So, said all that to say this, I was fighting and I was performing well and I was having these knockdown, drag out, glorious battles, but I've been the smaller guy every time. I've just been this. I just haven't had the size and the weight behind me to be able to compete with these guys. So I made the move to 155, which is where my whole MMA career was spent at. So it made it made too much sense for me to be there. So I went back down to 155 and I started fighting at the weight class that I was supposed to be fighting at. And I think being in there to answer your question, I think being in there with those guys and dealing with that size and that power and that brute strength, and then moving down to 155, it's like you guys aren't going to show me anything I haven't seen. Like, you guys are not going to hit me as hard as these guys hit me. You might be faster, you might be sharper, have better angles, things like that. But like, nothing you guys throw at me is going to hurt me the way that those guys had hurt me in the past.
Right.
So for me to be able to get into 155 and get a good opponent, and go out there and be able to land 60% of my strikes in the first round, knock his teeth out, and finish the fight. I think that just goes to show that, one, I'm in the proper weight class. Mm-hmm. Two, all of the wars and the battles and the experiences that I've had in the past, even though I didn't win them, they got me to where I am now, and they've given me that sort of experience to be able to go out there and fight whoever. It doesn't matter. Hit me. Like, if Julian Lane can crack me and I can get up, if Joe Elmore can crack me and I can get up, like, I'm gonna be okay, guys. So that's kind of what those fights did for me, is they helped me realize, one, that I need to be at my proper weight class, and two, now that I'm at my proper weight class, there's not a lot that people can do to hurt me.
Well, let me talk about the weight classes kind of in a perceptive of the weight cut itself. Now, obviously, we've seen over the past couple months definite fails in people's I don't want to say metabolism, but their weight cut process, and it's caused them to faint even at the scale the day of weigh-ins. How do you feel about drastic weight cutting, as far as if you're, let's say, you walk around at 190 and you're dropping down to 155? I mean, obviously, I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't think you're at 190 when you walk around, but I mean, would you take that much of a drastic drop in your personal weight cut program?
Me personally, no, I wouldn't do that. But I'm built differently than other people. And I don't mean that to sound like arrogant or egotistical. Like, I'm 6 foot tall. I'm 170 pounds soaking wet, and I'm long, I'm skinny, things like that. So, like, my build, I don't think would allow me to walk around at 190 pounds and then rip down to 155. I just don't think I've got it in me. Some people have that, excellent example is Joe Elmore and Julian Lane. Like, those guys are big, thick, dense guys. So they can hold on to that extra weight, we'll say, and then progressively pull it off over a certain amount of time and then balloon back up and put it on. I can't do that. I don't hold a lot of fat. I don't hold a lot of density. So for me personally, I don't do it. I don't like heavy weight cuts. Like I said earlier, I walk around at 170 pounds soaking wet. So when I fought Julian, there was no weight cut. When I fought Joe, there was no breakfast that morning. Like, I woke up, didn't have breakfast, went downstairs and worked out and was like, all right, guys, I'll see you at weigh-ins. So 55 is where I need to be. But
and 15 pounds is not a major weight.
It's not. It's diet. It's literally just diet. Like, I eliminate booze. I eliminate one meal. I replace one meal a day with a salad for 4 weeks. And I run more. Like, the weight falls off. It's not, so like for me, I'm all about working smarter, not harder. I've already proven that I can be the smaller guy and survive. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So if we're the same size, like, it'll work. It's not that big of a deal. You're not hurting my feelings. So bring this thing full circle. For me personally, I don't cut a lot of weight. I don't cut big amounts of weight. I just don't like it. I don't like the way that I look. I don't like the way that I feel. I don't do it. Some people have the build and the frame to be able to do it and get away with it. I'm not one of them.
I cannot blame you. Honestly, I don't like missing meals much. So I couldn't fathom doing a 50 pound weight cut for a fight.
Yeah. And that's really the big thing, is like, I like to eat. Yeah. Like, I really do, so for me to cut out a lot of stuff when I don't really see the value or the benefit in it, like I said, I'm obviously not going to gain any weight. I'm not going to get up to 190 pounds. So now my only option would be to go to like 145 or lower. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I like to eat. I like the food, and I don't see the benefit in ripping off an extra 10 pounds for something that may not be very, very beneficial. I feel great at 155. So to go to 145, miss out on 6 weeks of delicious treats, and then possibly still lose the fight. Like, that seems
not worth it.
Exactly.
Well, let's talk about the future plans in the BKFC for you, sir. Do you have, I know obviously you can't, if you do have anything in the works, tell us what you can, I guess, and
Okay.
obviously don't rip everything that you don't want to get ripped for by them.
Yeah. Well, what I can tell you is that I just signed a 3-fight contract.
Okay.
So I'm back under the banner for at least 3 more fights. All 3 fights are guaranteed at 155 pounds. So you'll see me at 155 pounds basically from here on out. And if things go well, like I go out there and I just keep whipping ass and taking names at 155 pounds, chances are at the end of this contract, I'll be in line for a title shot.
Nice.
So that's what you can expect from Tom. You can expect to see me at least 3 more times at 155 pounds. And if if I go out there and do what I expect to do and win those fights, you might see me a world champion here in the next year or 2.
Well, I like the sound of it. I know you do.
Yeah, I love the sound of that.
So can we maybe expect something of the your local ninja within the summer?
That's certainly the goal, the game plan. Yeah. We've been tossing around ideas between July and August.
Mm-hmm.
But I think August is going to be where it's at. I think that's the most reasonable time frame as far as everything else that I have going on and getting things kind of maneuvered and fluctuated, and then get myself into camp, get ready, things like that. So yeah, I should be back with that first fight. The aim is August 20th. It's not confirmed, nothing's guaranteed, but that's certainly the aim.
Good deal. And who would you like to see on that other side of that contract? If you had a choice, who would you put?
Ooh, if I had to choose, that's tough. I was having a conversation with my buddy the other day, and I told him, I said, like, we've already pretty much established that, like, I don't care who I fight.
Right.
I'll fight anybody. I want to fight great people. I want to fight people who make me get up in the morning and go to the gym and train because I don't want to get my ass beat.
Right.
That being said, this is also my job. It's my profession, and I got to be kind of smart about how I manage my career. So who do I want to fight? I mean, I'll fight anybody as long as they're paying me.
Right.
But I think that's where I'm going with this is I want to fight somebody who matches the payday. Like, you're going to pay me big bucks, give me a big name. You're going to pay me shit, give me shit. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. I want to be the best. I want to be a world champion. That's what I want.
Right.
So whoever I have to fight to make that happen, I'll fight them.
So in your mind, being the smart businessman, as it sounds like you are, for your career to, you obviously don't want to lengthen your career with just, a step sideways.
Right.
So who would you say, if you were given the opportunity, besides obviously the champ right now, who would put you in line for that title shot coming up?
Like immediately?
Yeah.
Like I got the 3 fights.
You got 3
First
fights. So let's do like a 3-fight step.
Okay, so let's go to this 3-fight step. All right, first fight would have to be somebody decent at 155 pounds or that area. Somebody who we'll say is a step, I'll be honest, I don't know the roster that well. I know there's a couple of guys that have come in. I know there are a couple of guys that have been competing and wanting to do things. I know there are a couple of guys out there that want to fight me. Tony Soto, Tony Loco Soto. He's under GOAT, the GOAT agency or whatever with Vince Anderson. Yeah. I met the guy a couple of times, and he's always super nice and super polite. But every time I see him, he's like, bro, like, I'm going to fight you, dude. Like, me and you, like, we're going to get it. Just like, shit, man. Like, what did I do?
Maybe, I mean, he likes your fights. He likes the way you bang.
And that's what it is. And that's how I'm trying to take it. It's like, the guy's a fighter, and he wants to fight other fighters, and he thinks that we can go out there and have glorious battle. I respect the hell out of that. So like I said, I'm not offended. I'm not upset, anything like that. I just know that there are guys out there that want to fight me. I know that like Adam Pellerino, he just fought Rusty Crowder. and he's like 2-1, I think, in the sport. And I know that, he's trying to make his way up at the 155-pound division, so I'm making my interest into the 155-pound division. Maybe that could be something. But I think that the first fight's going to have to be, if the first fight is, okay, let's see how Tom does against quality opponents at 155, then the second fight after I win that first fight has to be, okay, let's see how Tom does against somebody who's fought the champ.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got to be, if Palomino wins next week, then it's got to be Good John or Valley Flag or Allers. Like, it's got to be one of those guys. I've got to go in there and I've got to prove that I can do just as good, if not better, than those guys did, or, to be able to go in and get a shot against whoever holds the title. And if Good John wins, then, it replace Good John with Palomino, you know what I mean? And then, of course, the third fight would be, if I go out there and I perform how I intend on performing, then the third fight would be that title fight. If I get the chance and, if I play my cards right. So I guess to bring this all the way around, that would be the 3-fight plan. That would be what it is, somebody who has fought at 155 pounds before, but nobody really knows really who they are. They're not much of a name. Go out there and whip that guy's ass. Second fight's got to be a name. It's got to be somebody that people know. You go out there and do that. Third fight, it's a title shot. Then I'm all for title shots.
Sounds like it. I could tell. I could see it.
Yeah.
So since it is fight week here for BKFC 18, and you brought up one of the 4 big matchups, let's talk about who you see as the victor in that Palomino Good John fight.
That's a tricky fight, man. That's one of those fights that's like, if you try to look at it on paper, it almost doesn't make any sense. Palomino, his MMA record is astounding. I mean, he's fought everybody under the sun as far as MMA is concerned. And he's fought top quality opponents, but he's only got like 3 bare knuckle fights, I think. And he did great. I mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He went out and won. He's the fucking champion, first champion, And then Good John in his performance looked mediocre at best. Didn't look great against Felony.
Right.
But you look at the guy's record, and he's like 17-0 or 19-0 or something like that. He's got like some astronomical record out in Europe. But then you also got to look at the fact that, like, look at the guys that he's fought. Like, he hasn't fought the type of caliber opponents that he's fought, that Palomino's fought. But Palomino fought in MMA, and he's been fighting bare knuckle. So it's just like, on paper, that fight is so fucking confusing. It doesn't make any sense. I think the only way that you can go about looking at who's going to be the victor in that fight is who's training better, who's got the smarter training, and who's got the more dedicated training. I think that if Good John is training smart and he's motivated and he knows that he looked like shit in his last performance, he's training like a demon, and he's going to come out and he's going to use his reach. He's going to use his length, and he's going to fucking pick Palomino apart from the outside. I honestly and truly think that if that's what you're good, if you're fighting Palomino, that's what you got to do. Can't let him get inside and flurry and do all the shit that he wants to do. He's short. You can't do that. You got to keep him at bay. You got to keep him at range. You got to use your footwork, things like that.
Right.
Good John's training smart. That's going to work, and it's going to frustrate Lewis, but Lewis has been in there with guys like Justin Gaethje. You're not going to beat him by frustration, so you got to be technical. You got to be good. And then Palomino, it's like, oh, how bad do you want to be champ, man? Like, how bad do you want that legacy to last? Because if you want it to last, if you want it to be solidified, you need to go out there and you need to, stomp Good John's dick in the dirt. And that's honestly what I think is going to happen. As I think Palomino is so motivated and so just jazzed up to finally be a world champion. I shouldn't say finally. I'm pretty sure he won the world championship for the World Series of Fighting. Anyway, moral of the story is, for him to have this championship and for him to have this title, I don't think people are going to take it from him easily. you know. And I've exchanged words with the guy on Instagram and things like that, you know, and we've had our little tiffs and our little back and forths, but anybody who goes that hard in the comments section on Instagram better be going that fucking hard at the gym. And I think Palomino's that type of guy, you know. I think that's what he's doing. So for me personally, I think Palomino takes it, man. I hate to say it because, you know, like Good John and I, stylistically, we're fairly similar. We both like to use our reach, our range. We like to box. We like to be clean, crisp, and accurate. So it would be nice to see somebody stylistically like me go out there and win. Same time, I don't think he's going to do it. I maybe he'll prove me wrong. You know, I know he made a post on Instagram not too long ago calling me out. So maybe now that I've had this little exchange, he'll be like, "Oh, you didn't think I could win? Well, I won. Now it's not. You know, now we can fight. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see if that plays out." I think Palomino takes it, man.
Okay. Well, who do you got in the 205 pound? Lombard or Riggs?
That's another one, man. That one's fucking hard. My heart says Riggs, honestly.
But we don't bet with our heart.
Right.
If
and
you're
that's
betting, man, you can't bet with your heart.
Exactly it. Exactly. Yeah, man. Like, you don't bet with your heart, man. And my heart says Riggs. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we fought on a handful of cards together. Maybe it's because, you know, I've had the opportunity to have conversations with him and stuff like that in the past. And I know what he's like in the gym, you know, like I think anybody in the combat sports world has heard the stories of Joe Riggs in the gym and how he's just an absolute demon in the gym, but that same guy doesn't show up fight night. And we've seen that happen a couple of times. I mean, but when he fought in Mexico, I mean, the guy broke his hand in the first round and still finished the fight, you know? So it's like, my heart says Riggs. It truly does. But you are who you surround yourself by, and Palomino and what's his name? Hector Lombard, they train together, you know, like they're like, so it's like if you're surrounding yourself, and I think they're down at ATT in Florida, you know, so it's like you're surrounded by champions. You're surrounded by excellence of the highest caliber in this sport or in combat sports. I think that is in Hector's favor. I don't think Hector's an incredibly talented guy, especially in his boxing. I think he's powerful, but I don't think he's super crisp or talented. And I think we saw that when he fought Kendall, you know? So if I were making the bet, I'd say Hector Lombard wins that fight in the third. Or should say by the third. Yeah. Joe's a tough guy. He really is, but I don't know him personally, so I can't say that any of this is true, but I feel like Joe's at a point in his career where he's trying to get paid. So he goes out there and he starts putting a cracking on this guy, or this guy starts putting a cracking on him, and he doesn't appreciate it anymore. It's like, are you there for the title or are you there for the paycheck? Because if you're there for the paycheck, you're not going to take that ass whooping, right, you know, because you don't care about the title. But if you're there for the title, it doesn't matter the ass whooping. Like, you know, you're going to take that ass whooping because you're every round, because you're going to try to win up until the last second. So, yeah, so that's my stance on that one. If I'm betting on it, I think Hector Lombard wins that fight.
All right. Kind of moving on forward to another ATT champion. Well, former champion, I guess. Alves versus Diaz. Who you got?
And that's the other thing. Like, see, don't all these guys like train together, or is Palomino still at MMA Masters?
I know. Well, I know for a fact Lombard and Alves are still at ATT, right? I'm 99% sure of that. Yeah,
I know for sure Alves is. Okay, so then Lombard's there. I think Palomino's. I don't fucking know, man. I don't know where these guys train. Anyway, it's not that important. Moral of the story is these guys are surrounded by greatness, you know? Right. So it's like when you're training with greatness, when you've already been at the highest level for an extended period of time, you know, I mean, Thiago Alves fought George St. Pierre, you know, and it went to a decision, if I recall correctly, you know? So it's like you've already been fighting at the highest level for your whole career. So for you to go into this fight, like, I don't think Yuli Diaz stands a chance, man. Like now, I will say this. Full disclosure, the only fight I've ever seen of Yuli Diaz is his 2-second knockout in the BKFC.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally all the information I have on this guy. So it's a bit biased for me to say that I think for sure that Alves is gonna win, but I do, man. Like I think for sure Alves is gonna win. I saw the way Alves fought Julian. I fought Julian. I know how Julian fights, and Alves, in my opinion, lost that fight, but by that much, by that much. So like I don't see Yuli Diaz winning this fight. I don't think he can. I don't think he's got the technical abilities. I don't think he's got the stature. Like he doesn't intimidate. Thiago. Like there's nothing you can do that's gonna scare this guy. You got to be better than him.
Right.
I don't think you are. So Thiago Alves, quick,
right.
Probably pretty quick.
Quick, huh? Okay.
Probably.
There you go. Last but not least, the heavyweights. Who are you going for, Shoemaker or Beltron?
You never bet against the champ, man. Especially in the heavyweight division. Unless they're fighting Arnold Adam. If Arnold's fighting for the belt, I'm betting on Arnold every time. And that's what I want, honestly and truly. Arnold was the reason that I got into Bare Knuckle. He went to the first tryouts. He got accepted for the heavyweight tournament. I cornered him in his first fight. I was there to corner a couple other guys, but their fights had fallen out. I was on the second show, and AJ was there to help me. AJ's the reason I got into the BKFC, and he was the first heavyweight champ in 133 years. I want to see him get that belt back, and I want to see him get it back, not from the person who took it from him, but from the person who wants to fight him. Like after every fight, Joey's always like, where's AJ? Where's Arnold? What's going on? Where's Arnold? Like that's the guy I want to fight. So I think Joey goes out there, and I think that he wins. I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I think Sam's motivated. I think Sam's been working a lot on his boxing, like trying to crisp it up and keep it tight and keep it sharp. And I think he's going to need that against a guy like Joey, because I think Joey found a niche for him when he fought, when he won the belt against what's that guy's name? The Vanilla Gorilla, Chase Sherman. He won the belt against Chase Sherman, and then he defended it against Marcel Stamps. But he really had kind of the same philosophy in both fights. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to smother you, and I'm going to flurry on you. I'm not going to hit you with 100% power. I'm not even going to hit you with 50% power, but I'm going to hit you 50 times with 20% power, and you're just not going to be able to take it. You're not going to be able to match the pace. I think he found a real good niche for him. So I think that's what he's going to do with Sam. I think he's going to put his weight on him. I think he's going to lean into him. I think he's going to make him fight a high-paced fight, and I don't know if Sam's ready for that. So,
how many rounds do you think it'll go? 2?
I think Sam and Joey. You can't see. That's the thing. It's like
they're heavyweights.
I personally, that's it exactly. I personally think that they will both be trained and conditioned, and it'll go 5 rounds. Personally, I don't think Sam's going to go down easy, and I don't think Joey's going to give up.
Right.
So I think that unless the typical heavyweight scenario happens where somebody comes out fucking winging and puts somebody down in the first minute or two of that first round, that fight's probably going to decision. And I think Joey's going to take it.
All right. If you're betting, man, folks, listen to his picks. He's pretty on it, I think.
Insider information, guys. I got it.
There you go. There you go. All right. It is time for Combat Zone's Rapid Knockout. 5 questions. Has absolutely nothing to do with the fight world. Are you ready, sir?
I believe so.
Number 1. Favorite food?
Favorite food. I don't have a favorite food.
Or favorite type.
But I love to eat. Meat. We'll just go with that. Red meat. I'm gonna slaughter some red meat.
All right. There you go. Second, What is on your local ninjas playlist, whether it be genre, group, or individual? What's on your music playlist?
My music playlist jumps all around from things like Tool to Creedence Clearwater to The Temptations, Marvin Gaye. I've been on a big Marvin Gaye and James Brown kick the last couple of days, so it's been real funky in the house in the gym.
There you go.
Yeah, so it jumps all over the place. The one thing that I don't listen to and absolutely fucking refuse to listen to is country music, especially the new country music, like that poppy hippie. I get in my truck and drive with my windows down, drink my beer, and talk about my girlfriend. Every fucking song sounds like that. Fuck that music.
I can't disagree with you there. Third, if you had to pick any other sport besides the combat sports world to play or your favorite one to watch, what would it be?
I actually don't watch sports, but I used to play for a long time. I don't even watch combat sports, to be honest with you. But anyway, I played soccer for a long time. I was pretty good at it. I really enjoyed it. My girlfriend's pretty stellar at soccer. So maybe if it weren't combat sports, I'd go back to running my little ass off.
There you go. Soccer, the original football, right?
Precisely. Yeah, the real football.
There you go. Other than training, combat sports, and everything, what do you like to do? Biggest hobby?
I read, and got one of my books right here. I'll take you on a little adventure real quick.
There we go.
My bookshelf.
Right. We're heading to the Ninja Library, folks.
Yeah, you can't really see it. There's light, but there's my bookshelf, and
There you go.
like I said, man, I read. There's a lot of stuff on religion over there. There's a lot of stuff on combat sports. There's a lot of stuff on psychology. I've got a lot of Carl Jung's books. I've got a lot of Friedrich Nietzsche's books. Yeah, man, I read. That's what I like to do. I'm a pretty physical human being. And I need to be, given what I do for a living. But I need to challenge my mental processes just as much. So I spend a lot of time. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of time reading, but if I'm not at the gym or doing something constructive for my business and my career, I'm probably at the house sitting on the couch, hanging out with my big old fat.
There you go.
And reading a book, man. That's usually what I'm doing.
Awesome. All right. Number 5, last and final one. Growing up, whether it be personal or in the sports or entertainment aspect world, favorite role model?
That's tough, man.
I come with nothing but the hard shit, man.
Throwing the fucking curveballs. I don't know, man. I don't think I had idols growing up. I didn't have inspirational characters growing up. This will turn into a bit of a sap story, but I think the background might be necessary. I grew up with a single mom who had 4 boys, so my childhood was my older brothers beating me up, looking after my little brother, and mom running around working and making sure the bills were paid and we had food in our stomach. So I think that looking back on it, that might have been the biggest inspirational character that I had, was probably my mom, just because she always made sure that we were taken care of. She was always working hard and busting her ass to make sure that we had the things that we needed. And now that I'm in a position as an adult where I don't have any kids, I'm kind of, we'll say blessed in that aspect.
In the pocketbook, for sure.
Yeah, so it's like now I'm in a position where I can work really hard and do things that will take care of me, but will also motivate and push and drive other people to do big and exciting things. Very similar to what she did for me growing up. I get to now do that with people who I guess aren't my kids. So I don't know. I would say that growing up, I never really looked at my mom as like an idol or as like a motivational figure. But now that I'm forced to kind of sit back and think about it, and you know, you've asked the hard question, I think that would probably what it is, man. Is like my mom went through a lot of really tough shit, and I watched her go through that, and you know, she made it out the other side.
And you probably caused her some of that shit, just like I did my parents.
Guaranteed.
I get it.
Like I said earlier, man, I was such a shitty kid. Like I really was. I'll be the first to tell you and the first to admit it. Like I was the kid who would run his mouth and talk shit and then would go run away. Like I was that kid. And then like halfway through my high school career, someone was like, I'm not having it anymore, and just beat my ass. And I was like, not allowed, not cool. Like, so then I learned how to fight.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I would say probably my mom. If we can, you know, put an exclamation point on that, I'd say probably my mom was the most motivating or idealistic persona that I was striving for growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's always good to look at mama and look back and things and realize, just as I did, that, you know, your parents did. Well, I had both parents, but your mom and parents do a lot more than what you really realize until you grow up and see it from a different perspective. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, it takes that growing up to be able to see it. Yes, no doubt about it.
Yes, it does. Tom, your local ninja show. Here's your chance to give any shout outs to sponsors, friends, families, co-workers, independents, whoever you would like, sir. The floor is now yours.
Oh, let me stretch for this one. Yeah, I just thanks to everybody. You know, anybody who's watching this, thank you. You know, thank you for taking time out of your day to show me a little bit of support. Anybody who's had my back through this wild and adventurous career, thank you. My parents, my family, my training partners, my girlfriend, my business partners, all of you. Just thank you. You guys have been a tremendous help in my life, and you've helped make me the human being that I am today. My manager, Mikhail, I appreciate you, homie. Thank you very much. Sponsors, Civil Savage Tees, Kimura Wear, Knuckle Up Bullies. That's where I got my beautiful dog from. Rob Gravel, the guy to talk to. Yeah, man, like that's just thank you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you all very much.
Well, thank you again, sir, for joining me on Combat Zone. This has been another wonderful interview that I've had the opportunity to talk to some awesome people, and you, sir, are one of the top that I have up here. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Love to have you anytime, brother. As we get closer, that contract signed, get you back on here. Let's talk about that next fight.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, guys. Until next time, you know it's in Combat Zone. We are out.
Out of here.